It was one of those perfect Saturday mornings in Willow Grove, the kind where the sun's just warm enough, the birds are singing, and you feel like the world's on your side. I grabbed the leash, and my golden retriever, Buddy, wagged his tail so hard I thought he'd knock over the coffee table. We headed out for our usual loop around the neighborhood, a quiet little pocket of well-kept homes and manicured lawns. Everything was going great until we hit the corner of Elm and Cedar. The sidewalk was a mess, blocked by a ridiculous setup of wicker chairs, potted ferns, and tacky garden gnomes. It was like someone had decided to stage a patio sale right in the middle of the public walkway. I stopped, weighing my options: trample through someone's grass or step into the street with Buddy, which wasn't exactly safe with cars zipping by. As I stood there, the front door of the corner house flew open with a bang, and out stormed a woman with a blonde bob so sharp it could have cut glass. Her face was already red, like she'd been stewing for hours. "What do you think you're doing?" she yelled from her porch, pointing at me like I just keyed her car. "Your dog is trespassing on my property." I glanced at Buddy, who was sitting politely on the sidewalk, his head tilted like he was as confused as I was. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice calm, "we're just walking. Your stuff is blocking the sidewalk, so I'm trying to figure out how to get around it." She didn't even let me finish. She marched down her steps, phone in hand, snapping photos of me and Buddy like we were criminals. "I'm Linda Harper, president of the Willow Grove HOA," she announced like it was a royal title. "I document all SAW violations, and your dog is not allowed on my lawn. I'll be filing a complaint with the board." Before I could point out that Buddy hadn't even saw her precious grass, she leaned in, her voice dropping to a menacing hiss. "And if I find one speck of dog poop on my property, you'll regret moving here." I was so stunned I could barely string a sentence together. I just guided Buddy around her barricade, stepping into the street while dodging a pickup truck that came way too close. My heart was racing, and not just from a near miss with traffic. What the hell had just happened? I'd only been in Willow Grove for 3 weeks, drawn by the tidy houses and the promise of a peaceful community. My realtor had handed me a binder thicker than a phone book, filled with HOA rules. "They're strict," she'd warned, giving me a look that said "saw good luck, saw," but it keeps the place pristine. What she didn't mention was Linda Harper. Over the next few days, I started asking around, and the neighbors' hushed tones told me everything. Linda had been HOA president for 4 years, and under her reign, fines had skyrocketed. People got citations for leaving trash cans out too long or planting unapproved flowers. "She's got too much time on her hands," muttered Steve, my neighbor 2 doors down, glancing over his shoulder like Linda might pop out of a bush. "Her husband's a big-shot lawyer, so she's made policing this place her full-time gig. His ad stay off her radar." Yeah, too late for that. The next morning, Buddy and I approached the corner house, and surprise, the blockade had grown. Now there were potted cypress trees lined up like sentinels, making it impossible to pass without playing Frogger in the street. And there was Linda, standing on her porch with her arms crossed, smirking like she'd been waiting for us. "Back again," she called out, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Did your dog do his business on my lawn yesterday? I found suspicious patches on my grass this morning." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay cool. "No, Linda," I said. "Buddy didn't go near your yard. We stayed on the sidewalk until your furniture forced us into the street. He only does his thing in our backyard." She stepped closer, her face flushing. "That grass strip between the sidewalk and the street? That's my property, and I maintain it. The HOA bylaws say pet owners are responsible for any damage. That to do $500 fine for the first offense." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Linda, there was no offense. Buddy didn't do anything, and that grass strip is public property, not yours." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "I've been president for 4 years, I know my property lines better than some newbie. You'll get a violation notice by tomorrow." With that, she spun on her heel and stormed back inside, leaving her sidewalk fortress intact. That night, I knocked on a few doors, determined to figure out what I was dealing with. The stories I heard were wild. Linda had a habit of targeting new folks, burying them in violation threats until they either caved or moved out. Her sidewalk trick was a classic block the path, then slap fines on anyone who stepped on her grass to get around it. My neighbor Maria dropped the real bombshell. My husband works for the city, she whispered. That sidewalk and grass strip? They're public easements. The city owns them, not Linda. And blocking a sidewalk violates municipal code. Another neighbor, a retired lawyer named George, chimed in. I checked the HOA bylaws when she tried this on me. There saw nothing saw GIVYing her authority over public land. She's banking on people being too scared to fight back. Armed with this, I went home and got to work. I printed out the city's municipal codes, the easement maps for Willow Grove, and the HOA bylaws. I even ordered a tiny body camera to clip on Buddy's leash, just in case Linda got any crazier. The next morning, there she was, waiting by her blockade, tapping her foot like a cartoon VY lane. I've documented three instances of your dog damaging my property, she started, while VYing a folder in my face. The board's meeting next week to discuss your penalties. I smiled as polite as I could manage. Good morning, Linda. Before you go on, I've got something for you. I pulled out my own folder. City Ordinance 22-4 says blocking a public sidewalk is illegal, with a due law 100 daily fine. That's sidewalk and grass strip? Public easements, not your property. I handed her the documents, watching her smug expression falter. Also, HOA bylaws, Section 7, Paragraph 3, say the association has no authority over public easements. I highlighted it for you. Linda's face went from smug to confused to furious in seconds. These are fake, she screeched, snatching the papers. I know every inch of this neighborhood. Feel free to check with the city, I said, keeping my voice steady. Oh, and I filed complaints with the HOA management and the city's code enforcement about your blockade. I'm sure the board will want to talk about that. Her face turned a shade of red I didn't know was humanly possible. You wouldn't dare saw, she hissed. Already did, I said with a shrug. Just following the rules, like you love to do. For a few days, Linda's blockade stayed up, but she was nowhere in sight during our walks. Then, on Thursday, a city code enforcement truck pulled up to her house. From across the street, I watched an officer point at the furniture and jot notes while Linda gestured wildly. By that afternoon, the sidewalk was clear. The next day, an envelope arrived in my mailbox, not the violation notice Linda had promised, but a letter from the HOA management. They confirmed the sidewalk and grass strip were public easements and had warned Linda for filing false reports and misrepresenting her authority. The real fireworks came at the next HOA meeting. Linda had demanded a hearing to fight the warning, and I wasn't about to miss it. She stood before the board, her voice shaking with righteous fury. As president, I have the power to enforce our standards, she insisted. When my turn came, I laid out the EVY Denke, the codes, the maps, the bylaws, and photos of her blockade. I just want to walk my dog without being harassed or falsely accused, I said, keeping it simple. The board didn't hesitate. Not only was Linda's warning upheld, but they saw her as president for abusing her power. They issued me a formal apology and announced a re-VYEW of every fine she'd ever handed out. As the board read out the city's due law, 500 fine for Linda's sidewalk obstruction plus a warning of daily penalties if she kept it up, her face crumpled. This is outrageous, she shouted, looking around for allies. I've given 4 years, to this community. Don't you care about property values? But the room was silent. No one met her eyes. With a final glare in my direction, she grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels clacking like gunshots as the door slammed behind her. The neighborhood felt lighter after that. Buddy and I could walk the sidewalk without dodging furniture or Linda's wrath. But the whole thing left me wondering, how many people had Linda bullied into silence? And how far would she have gone if I hadn't pushed back? What do you think? Did I go too far by reporting Linda? Or was it the only way to stop her? Should HOA presidents have that much power in the first place? And what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you're team buddy, and subscribe for more wild neighborhood stories.